So I'm going to rapid fire question. You guys have 20 seconds to answer each one.
Whoa! There's a real format to this.
Real Jeopardy now. So actually, I'm here today with two awesome people from New York, Jackson Kelly and Frank DeCola, both the founders of Game Revenant Studios, who came out with the game already, Skyrunners, which is on mobile platforms, and they're now hard at work on their latest game, Where's Shadows Slumber, which they actually got a chance to demo at Indiecade East in Astoria. And I mean, the game's, I already love the idea of the game. It's a forgone like planet where you're set to explore via puzzles and exploration this forlorn planet, just to try and discover what any mysteries you can of this, what occurred there, what people were there. But before I get into the game itself, I want to kind of talk about you guys overall. Before you did found the studio, before you maybe even met, what is your general work background?
All right. Yeah, I'll go first. So I got started in computer programming and game programming in general in 8th grade with the TI-84 calculator, programming games on that, and just I knew that's what I wanted to do from that point on. Moved on to Flash, ActionScript, a little bit of JavaScript, C++, the whole ordeal. And I started at Stevens Institute of Technology in Hoboken in class of 2013 for computer science, and then graduated, went to UBS working at a bank, which was a little bit boring, and decided to do this on the side because I still had a passion for creating video games, and that's I met Frank at Stevens, and we had a couple of classes together where we worked together on making games, and we kind of said, hey, this was great. We did a great job in this class. Do you want to work on something else outside of that? And so that's when we started working on Skyrunner.
All right, and Frank?
So for my background, so before Stevens, I always had an interest in games, and I knew that like one day I wanted to have my own studio. But I focused on animation a lot before that. I really didn't do any programming until college. I was kind of the kid in high school, we all had laptops, and it's chemistry class, and what am I doing? I'm 3D modeling. Like, I'm not even paying attention, I don't care, I'm just working on 3D models. So I've been doing that for longer than I've been programming, and I've always been interested in art and animation. But eventually I got to the point where I became frustrated with my work because there was nothing to do with it. I didn't want to make animations. I wanted to do something with these models and these characters and these things and put them into games. So I went and I studied animation at Stevens, but I tried to focus more on games and started taking game classes and learning, trying to teach myself some programming. And that's when I met Jack. We were in an intro to game design class. And obviously we had very different backgrounds, but it kind of made a good team. Although technically we met in Off Center.
Yeah, we definitely met before that.
Yeah. Like when I walked into the class, I was pretty nervous, and I was like, "Oh, Jack's here. That's great." Like, the funny person who's my friend. So that's kind of how the story works.
Yeah. But well, actually, and you guys touched upon with the studio itself. The name is Game Revenant Studios. What about the name? Why the name first place? And why did you guys feel it was something that was worth to actually make a studio? Like, you guys work together already. What about like deciding, okay, we need an actual studio to be underneath that was so important about that?
Well, the studio is actually Frank's. I guess I would be considered a contractor. Okay. I'm not really sure what the legal term would be, but basically it's his studio, and I'm working on a game that will be published by the studio.
You're his intern.
So basically, yeah.
No, but that's right. I had been involved with, I think, 2 other companies at Stevens, and both kind of fell under, so like third time's a charm. But you learn a lot, right? And I think like that was kind of a good extracurricular thing at school, which was being part of these other companies that ended up going under. So eventually when I graduated, I decided I found my own one, and that's kind of where Game Revenant came from. And there's the obvious boring answer, which is like, oh, you need a corporate shield in case you get sued by us too. But I mean, the reason for Game Revenant, it's kind of like a nerdy, long-winded explanation, but so in Warcraft 3, there were these mobs. They were like elementals and revenants. And so elementals were like kind of the nerdy, like fire elemental, water elemental, and they kind of sucked, and you could beat them pretty easily. And then there were the revenants, and they were harder. They were like level 7, and I was like, oh no, revenant. And I always it stuck in my mind because I used to do Warcraft 3 mods. I was like, oh, revenant is what you call something when it epitomizes an element and it's awesome. So I thought, Game Revenant, like...
It's the better of whatever that other thing was.
Exactly. If my other companies were Game Elemental, this is Game Revenant. But of course, everyone just knows about the Leonardo DiCaprio movies, so I have to live that down for the first 5 years. And then, yeah.
Well, you need to get Leo the mascot now.
Oh my God.
Oh, let's do that. Yeah.
There you go. That's the plan.
Get him talking a commercial. When I'm not surviving the wilderness, I play mobile games. But and I guess it's a good point to jump into on with talking about the studio. Again, you had Skyrunners running that, and now you guys are now working on where Shadows Slumber, where you guys are actually able to demo a small portion of at Indicate East, like I said. And from what I took away from that, it actually felt like a very polished, if small section of the game. And one thing I actually want to talk about with the game that you mentioned in the website and such, a little bit of how it's kind of like a forgotten world, you're exploring, it's sort of like puzzle exploration, almost 50-50 split. But what was the inspiration for the game like that? Because it has a lot of very unique elements, and it sticks close to what it wants to do.
I think that, like you just said, the game has a lot of very unique elements, and that holds true until you remember the game Monument Valley, because we basically stole everything from them, and that's not true. We're not actually stealing anything from them. Big inspiration. But that game.
I'll cut that part.
Yeah, I played that game, and I said this is one of the best games I've ever played. Like, yeah, it's a mobile game, and yeah, it's not fast-paced or whatever, great graphics on a computer, and it's awesome, but it's just so well put together, and it knows exactly what it is. And I said, if I make a game, I want to do that. I'm sick of playing games with ads and with, you spend money to get coins to buy upgrades, and you refer your friends to get points. I want something.
Sorry? I was going to say, you're referring a lot to, like, especially with the mobile setup, is that a lot of times are genuinely great games that are very much bogged down with exactly what you said, where they'll have ads, they'll have microtransactions, they'll have paywalls.
Exactly. The model of freemium is very good in a lot of cases. Like, I played a lot of League of Legends, and that game executes on it flawlessly. But a lot of games are mobile games that you're playing, and the experience is just worse for having ads. And at some point you think, like, maybe if this was a more cohesive experience, I'd be willing to pay for it. And that's kind of what I wanted to do, is put together a game that is not only, and this is one of Monument Valley's goals, I found out later, I wanted to put together a game that's not only good in terms of being a game and having good game design, but it's something that's beautiful in itself. Like, the game as a whole package is beautiful, and if you have an ad for go play Game of War or whatever it's called, at the bottom of your screen, it's not going to do that.
Yeah, and those things inherently take out the immersion, even on a large expanse like PC or things like that. You have game platforms beyond Steam, like I won't name anything specific, but they have ads like on the side, and it can pull immersion.
Exactly.
Definitely. And also, I think from a business point of view, this premium, well, not premium, like, what do you call it when you just buy something for money? Like the normal.
Capitalism.
Capitalism. Yeah, I think, like, from a marketing standpoint, we're kind of seeing a bounce back where that was the norm. You just paid for games, and then there was this freemium stuff and all this ads. And I think people are sort of finding their way back to, yeah, you know what? I just want to, like, drop a few bucks and have a nice experience, and no one's bothering me. So it kind of makes sense to make a game like that. And also, I know that the Monument Valley team is not working on mobile games anymore. At least not now. They're doing a VR game. So this is kind of the time to be a fast follower, where it's like, hey, did you like that beautiful game? Do you want another beautiful game? Because they're not going to get the same people, right? You're not going to get people who played Monument Valley to go out and buy a headset now and play their new game. They've moved on to a different market. So I think it's time for, strapping young indies like us to try to fill that space that I know Apple and Google Play want someone to fill.
Right. Well, I mean, and honestly, to be fair, I point out, like, there are definitely elements I saw when I checked out Monument Valley compared to yours. But I mean, Monument Valley has a much more vibrant, almost airy kind of look to the whole thing, and which works well for it. But again, like, going back to your guys' game with Shadows Slumber, it had a very, I hesitate to say limited palette, but I make it sound negative, but it has a very distinct palette of, like, not a large set of colors. It has what it uses, like, it has a large, and most the highest rated, like the oranges and the yellows for the sands and the deserts. It has some of the green and such for the character, but, like, it never really runs through a whole mesh. It's not League of Legends. League of Legends is a giant mash of graphical, visual candy, which is great, and it works for it, obviously. But, like, you guys have this much more limited palette set that differs from Monument Valley. And actually something that you said before with the mobile setup I want to talk about is it's not a PC game, and it theoretically could be, in that you could port this game there, in that you would use WSD controls to use it instead of the touchscreen.
Right.
But I mean, obviously, beyond the fact that you say, it's a mobile game, maybe it's easier to make up front, but why would you choose mobile over more choices possibly on a keyboard, or more choices on a console?
So, I mean, the reason that comes to mind first is that it is easier to build a mobile game. We have experience with that, and the game mechanics themselves lend themselves slightly better to more of a grid-based point-and-click type thing. But the real reason, and this is something with when I came up with this idea, kind of the end goal, I kind of saw what I wanted it to be, and I wanted it to be this experience. It's an ambient experience where you can take, it's like very zen. You can take it slow. You can enjoy it as you go. It's very pretty at all points. You can't die. It's all about solving these puzzles, and it seems very elegant. And that to me lends itself to a mobile game, because that's the kind of thing where it's like, oh, I got 10 minutes before my train comes. Let me whip out a mobile game and play. And I don't want to be stressed about anything. I don't want to have to think really hard or have fast reactions, or if my phone is slow, something bad happens. And you can do that with Shadows Slumber. And on the other side, at least for me, if I say I want to play a video game right now, I want to go on my computer and play a video game, I'm going to play something more fast-paced. And that to us didn't really ring true with the idea of this more zen type game.
Because I feel like this one definitely does reach for a certain aspect that could bring a lot of people in, like for the unique look, or could turn people away because it's not Farmville too.
It's possible, yeah.
I mean, so in my mind, I don't really want to build the next Bejeweled. I don't want to build the next Farmville.
Yeah.
Because the people who like, I mean, I don't want to call out anybody right here, but I mean, I wouldn't build the next Bejeweled and then 10 years later point back and say like, look at what I did. That's what I did, and it was awesome. Because it kind of it gets lost in the waters. Whereas I want to build something not necessarily strictly unique, but something that is its own experience is the word that I've been using a lot to describe it, and that's kind of what I feel it should be. It should be, instead of you're playing a game, it should be you're experiencing a game.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's honestly a buzzword like popping around a lot in indie. And I mean, you could say used poorly and good and effectively, but I think it's really a good word, honestly, in general to use, especially a lot of the games that were at indie, because a lot of them were going for a different aspect than, say, this is a really good shooter, or this is a really good platforming game. They wanted to say something like, I guess you want to say, they wanted to look back in the game 5 years ago, like, they were the specific idea I had there, and I still enjoy at least knowing I made that. Maybe I don't even make puzzle games anymore, but knowing I made that one is nice and comforting to know.
And I think the space is a little bit broader. Like, yeah, you might consider us to be competing with Monument Valley, and I'm sure there are other people who are coming up with games along this vein. But it's like, if we build the next Bejeweled, we have to compete directly with Candy Crush. If we build the next Farmville, we have to compete directly with Farmville or whatever the current version of it is.
Yeah.
Like the space seems a little bit more open for something like this, and it's a little bit easier to distinguish yourself in terms of having the storyline go a certain way, or having it be a darker storyline, or the mechanic is very different, something like that.
So I guess why was story, knowing that mobile has a sort of history of lack of story for a good reason, why do you guys still try to have some semblance of like a plot, even if it's in the background built in?
Do you mind if I take this one too? I've kind of been talking your guys' ears off. So this is kind of something that I came up with, and it was inspired by two games. One, the first, obviously, Monument Valley. They had a kind of the same thing. They did have cutscenes, and it was a very abstract story that they didn't describe what was happening to you. It was kind of like you went through and played the puzzles, and the puzzles didn't really have much to do with the story, but you got a few cutscenes with some text, and you kind of had to piece the story together. And that was really cool, because one of the things I really like about that is that it doesn't take away from the gameplay. Like, having cutscenes does a little bit, and that's why we're trying to go a little bit away from cutscenes and more into, like you said, the explored story. But having a mobile game where you can play the game through and not be interrupted, but still discover a story in this game that's already very zen. You're not supposed to speed through it, and you're supposed to explore it anyway. That kind of lets you find this storyline, and then you feel good. I mean, you feel good about finding it anyway, because it's not shoved down your throat. It's like, this is the storyline.
All right, but and again, going into Shadows Slumber in detail, I want to say that we talked about the possibility of like the background story there, but also alongside that I think that really does help the idea of story of the atmosphere, is that sense of the one that came main mechanics of shadows. Shadows are constantly moving around, and very quickly you realize they're not even moving. Why they're moving is that you fully understand, but you quickly understand you can use them to help you get through the world. I guess, what about Shadows was something that you thought that would make a great puzzle element?
Oh boy, this is
all you.
Yeah, no, this is all me. I don't really know. I just kind of thought.
That's a good answer.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. That's it. I don't know. I was kind of at one point, you know, we were reaching the end of Skyrunner, or we had already, you know, released and updated Skyrunner a few times. It was kind of like, what are we gonna do next? What are we gonna work on next?
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking through like, oh well, you know, we made an endless runner game. You know, we made kind of one of the cliche mobile games. Now, what can we do that's new? What kind of mechanics haven't really been done yet? And I you know, for probably months I spent just like working on stuff, but also thinking in the back of my head, like, I wonder if this would be a good idea for a game. I wonder if this would be a good idea for a game. And there's a Sherlock Holmes game. I don't know. You might want to cut this out because this is a big story. There's a Sherlock Holmes game basically where you're Sherlock Holmes and you go around collecting clues and it's like first person. And you have Watson and he follows you around and he helps you out. Now, the game designers, I don't know why, but I'm assuming it was they didn't want to animate Watson moving. So it was like, whenever you can't see him, he'll move to be behind you. So it's like he's always moving when you're looking away from him.
Okay.
Because he's supposed to be following you, right?
Yeah.
But so when you're playing the game normally, it seems fine. But when you aren't, so there's like this video on YouTube where like you walk away from him backwards and he's in front of you, and then you turn around and you turn back around immediately and he's right here.
Yeah, no, I've seen that.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm not sure which one that is.
Yeah, it's like and I saw a proof of concept for a first-person shooter with this concept before, and it looked crazy, and I think it ended up just being too crazy, and I don't know what happened with that because I forgot the name, but I thought that would be such a cool mechanic where things that you can't see can change.
I guess the last question I wanted to really touch on before we ended today was that mobile gaming in general. Do you guys see yourself already envisioning more mobile games to play, or do you see yourself maybe already setting your eyes on like, I don't want to say Greta, because honestly, mobile games has a very strong market.
For future projects?
Just like the different markets, you mean?
Well, it's like different markets. Like, do you see already thinking, you know, because you mentioned before, like, we have ideas like for maybe PC games, like for shooters that are way above us. You know, now, working on this one, are you already thinking of ideas like, okay, I want that idea, but that won't work on mobile, or this? Or do you see your guys going already with another idea for mobile and you want to continue on that path?
Well,
or leave it up in the air?
It's definitely still up in the air. I remember one time, so we finished Skyrunner, we started work on Shadows Slumber, probably about 6 months in, so this would be eight months ago maybe. And I say to one of my friends at work, I say like, hey, I'm working on a new mobile game, you want to check it out? And he says, whoa, is that still a thing? Like, people still play mobile games? Like, I thought all the developers were off that. And I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I mean, people are always going to have personal smart devices,
yeah,
so you can always
become more and more.
Exactly. So I think that there will always be a market for it. I don't know if necessarily that's something that we will continue to work in. Like I said before, we've had a lot of ideas for games. Some of them lend themselves to mobile, some of them don't. Frank said maybe we want to work on first-person shooters or real-time strategies or whatever else. And now that we have more experience, we can start to do that. Maybe if we get another team member, we can work on something more complex like a shooter. Or maybe if this blows up and we can quit our jobs, then we can have more time to work on a shooter.
Exactly.
So everybody buy this game.
You Angry Birds, right?
Yeah,
Angry Birds. There you go.
Well, and that's a good point too. I think we've kind of been going project to project. I think when we did Skyrunner, we kind of knew, okay, we should do another mobile game. We should try this again and go for it. But we go project to project because our lives are changing. We don't know where we're going to be a year from now. We obviously hope this does well. The financial success of Shadows Slumber will greatly impact the next project because if it's like a massive success, I mean, look at the Monument Valley guys, right? Why are they working on a VR game? Is that going to sell well? I don't know, but they can. They can, right? They obviously can because they brought their company $14 million. That's why they can do whatever they want. So that's like I think the dream for indie gamers, or indie game developers, is that you make so much money that you could work on whatever crazy project you want. That's probably not healthy, and it's also not realistic.
I'm saying, like, that can be as much a danger because you can make $14 million then and then spend it all on the next game.
Exactly.
And then you're back to
and there's like a nightmare scenario where this does really well, and then I set my sights on like a crazy RPG, and it's like, you're stupid. Like, you're never going to be able to make this. Why are you even bothering? I think what we did right with Shadows Slumber so far is that we really picked something in the scope that we could handle, right? What's a good two-man project that can be a massive success, but also is possible, right? We could do this in 2 years with just the two of us. I think mobile's great for that. So what's next? I'm not really sure.
I think that last point you made is one that I really want to hit on because I feel like with Shadows Slumber, we kind of went in with an idea of what it would look like. And we ended up with a game, but we didn't end up with what we thought we would. We kind of had this idea where we'd be like, oh, we're going to have like 6 worlds with different aesthetics, and everything is going to be really detailed, and then there's going to be all these special moves you can do and all this cool stuff. And then at the end of the day, we said we can't really put this all together.
That's a 10-year game.
Right, that's a 10-year game for 2 guys to do.
Yeah.
And I think one of honestly, like, I dislike that we didn't get where we were going, but one of the best things we did with Skyrunner was finish it. We said we were able to make those cuts, and that's something that I think I at least have a hard time with, is saying, like, this feature will be great, but we can't do it.
I think we're on track to deliver what game we want in the time frame that we want. And sort of our next big deadline that we're trying to hold ourselves to is a more complete demo than the one you played that comes out sometime the weekend of November 1st. Again, not the final game, but a more complete tiny portion of the game that I think people will really enjoy.
Okay, again, I want to thank both you guys so much. Like I said, it's slated for a demo early,
November 1st. Yeah.
November 1st. But again, you guys can go to check these people out at their Game Revenant.com, I believe it is.
Actually, the website's not up yet, but Facebook is good.
It will be up soon. On Facebook, you can definitely check them out.
Game Revenant, and there's Twitter too.
And yeah, you can definitely check out the Twitter for that. I'll put links to both that in the video. But I want to thank you guys. I hope you look forward. I can't wait to see what the full game looks like.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Well, yeah, thanks a lot. This has been great.
Thanks.
No problem.